Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we share powerful, positive, and inspirational stories and music. Now, you know I'm the guy that wears a lot of hats on TV, so I'm wearing a couple this week. First up, TV travel man. I went to Alaska, and here's what's fun. The musical guest this week is somebody I met on the cruise. Hey, go figure. Then we switch hats and go to the TV garden guy, where we're going to get our hands dirty talking about container gardens. But the thing I really, really love about this week's episode is we talk with not one, but two different people that are mending broken hearts. So first up, LaVon Sandberg. Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Jessop's Journal. With me today, LaVon Sandberg. LaVon, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You mentioned that you have 4 children, but of which 3 are living. So tell me about the 4th.
The 4th is Kiva. Kiva was born with McCune-Albright syndrome, a rare condition. And we didn't know. We had no idea. And she transitioned, she passed away on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th of 2000. And that was a very intense experience. It was a bittersweet experience. By the time we were done, she was on life support, on 17 medications to suppress her condition, and doused up with quite a bit of morphine, 5 months, 7 pounds. And finally, a doctor pulled me aside and said, "What do you want us to do?" And I said, "I want her off the life support and I want to hold her." And we met with the ethics board for the second time. They agreed that would be the most humane thing for her. And we were able to take her off life support, and I held her for an hour, and she passed away in my arms.
What would you say to someone that is going through the passing of a child or has recently?
Breathe. Breathe in the moments that you can breathe, because there'll be moments where you feel like you cannot breathe, because our bodies are magnificent that way. It'll kick in the practice of breathing when we really feel like we cannot. And so I would say breathe, feel the emotions, be with the emotions. Do not run from the grief. Turn and face the grief when you are able to, because it will catch up with you. And I've had that a personal experience of that myself, where it just knocked me on my back. And I literally was laying there, and then I sat up and just thought, I have an idea of what's going on here, somewhat of an idea, because I felt her leave the crown of her head. I felt her leave with me when I was at the hospital, when I gathered her things. I felt her during the whole procession of arranging for her celebration of life. I mean, it was so profound. That's why I say bittersweet, that I couldn't deny all the signs and all the tangible things that I saw and experienced and heard and felt. And so I would say own those feelings, be in those emotions, and be willing to give yourself kindness and compassion when you go there. The good news about my experience is I learned how strong I really am. And I also learned that there's different definitions for strength. So when you tell someone, you're so strong, or be strong, it can be offensive to a grieving parent, to a grieving mother. They don't want to be strong. They just want their baby back. They just want to be able to hold their child. And so I would say to those grieving the passing of a child, strength looks many different ways. Strength is laying in your bed and not wanting to get up, but maybe just taking a couple of deep breaths. Strength is actually getting out of your bed and going and washing a dish in the kitchen and drying it and putting it away and then going back to bed,
Was there by chance someone that did something or said something while you were going through that, that made a difference that helped you?
Made a difference that helped me. I would just say, because there was a lot of things people said that just,
Well, see, that's what I wonder, because if you're going through that, it's like, you know, you go to a funeral and no offense, you know, when it's an older person, okay, you know, I mean,
they lived a long life.
yeah, nobody quite
Yeah.
knows what to say anyway.
Yeah.
But when it comes to a child, no parent should have to bury a child. What, you know, I guess I'm trying to figure out, was there anything that someone could have said that would have helped?
Yes, and I did have a very good friend, Beck, that said to me, you be and feel how you're feeling, and you be with all of it, and it's okay. I don't know what you're going through. I have no clue. I don't even know what to say to you. All I can say is that I love you. And I love Kiva. You know, and she was just authentically there. She didn't need to fill the space with, you know, God needed your child more than you get to have. I mean, I've had people say that, things like that. So just being mindful that if you do not know what to say nothing. Saying nothing is better than saying something that's going to just pierce that mother's heart or that father's heart in that moment. But to just say, I don't know, or even if they have had the experience, I've had that experience, but I still don't know what you're feeling. So I'm just going to be here, and I'm going to sit with you. The sit. Be willing to sit instead of spit.
I like that. With another entry in a Jessop's journal and LaVon, otherwise known as LaVon, I'm Doug Jessop. Hi, this is Doug Jessop, TV Travel Man. Today, we're in Ketchikan, Alaska. As Alaska's first city, Ketchikan likes to say that they are the beginning of the last frontier. The city is located at the southernmost entrance to Alaska's famed Inside Passage. Downtown Ketchikan is a National Historic District. Part of that history is reflected at the Great Alaskan Lumberjack Show. I'm with Patrick with the Great Alaskan Lumberjack Show. You know, he's got the getup and everything. Tell me about your show.
So the Great Alaskan Lumberjack Show is kind of a historical competition that happened here in Ketchikan. So it was originally called the Timber Carnival. And what that was we had two major logging camps that were within a pretty close proximity. One of them being the Spruce Mill Camp, which actually sat right here on this waterfront in Ketchikan. Then the other one is called Dawson Creek Camp. And about 100 miles away from here is the start of the Dawson Creek TSA. So the TSA stands for Timber Supply Area. And that was about 5.7 million acres in British Columbia. So it was a giant chunk of land. But the Dawson Creek camp was actually the largest camp on that TSA.
So I thought Dawson Creek was like a TV show. Come on.
That's a common misconception around here. A lot of people come in, they're like, where's all the stars, you know?
What's the favorite thing that people love to watch here?
Honestly, it's the crowd interaction. That's like, when it really comes down to it, that's the part that people are thriving off of. And that includes the Lumberjacks and the crowd as well. Like the crowd comes in here, they're looking for a rowdy time. And that's kind of how we like to project the show. It is a rowdy time. So we've got those two separate teams. So being able to kind of be a part of the camp and really get into it, really cheer for your team, that's kind of one of the big things they like. When it comes to events though, they pretty much like it all. I mean, chopping is always going to be a big show starter there. But then we've also got the speed climb. Speed climb is one of the most exciting events in all of timber sports. These guys practically free fall from the tops of the trees and hit the crash pads.
Yeah, I thought I was going to have to get my video out and see, okay, which one actually won? So
yeah, exactly.
And then, of course, you know, they got to get into the water, right?
Oh yeah, got to get in the water. So we got those two water events, and Boom Run is one of the more dangerous events, which is kind of surprising because they can hit the logs, they can get pinched between the logs. A lot of dangerous things can happen. But then you have the log roll. Log roll is always going to be an exciting event because it's just such a fast-paced thing. Those guys are out there, and that's actually one of the hardest events in timber sports to master as well. So it takes these guys years to get to the level that they're at.
What's something people might not know about this show?
About this show in particular, that it's actually based on true historical fact. Like that's one of the things that they don't know. They get the idea it's a show, so it's going to be completely made up, but this is also a real competition that happened in the past, and it's happening to this day. Every 4th of July is when it would originally happen, but even this 4th of July, we're going to have what we call the Iron Jack competition, or the Alaskan Iron Jack. So it's technically based on historical competition between two real historic camps, and also the excitement here is all real as well.
Oh, yeah.
Lumberjacks are really competing. They're
Oh,
really
yeah, I can tell.
They're
You can
really
tell.
doing it all. So.
Okay. With another entry into Jessop's Journeys, people, places, and things you might not know about from the Great Alaskan Lumberjack Show, I'm Doug Jessop. One of my favorite inspirational quotes is from Audrey Hepburn. She said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Hi, this is Doug Jessop, TV Garden Guy, with Lorene from Mill Creek Gardens, where
It's always a great day.
it is, and today's a great day to plant a container. Number one, you just pick something, the color you want, and you do three things. They are,
Thriller, filler, and spiller.
okay, so what is a thriller?
A thriller is what you put maybe in the center over towards the side that's maybe taller. And you put the fillers around, items that are going to fill in between that, and then the spillers are going to be plants that are going to hang down over the side of your pot.
When you're filling up the container, put the main plant in the middle in its pot still, okay? Because then what happens is, here's the magic, and Lorene, let's take it away and we'll do a time lapse.
Okay.
Ready?
All different textures and colors for your garden,
That's right. With another entry into TV Garden Guy from Mill Creek Gardens.
where every day is a great day at Mill Creek Gardens. Ba-ba-ba-ba.
I love presenting TV Garden Guy every week on Jessop's Journal, but here's something you might not know. I'm actually on every Thursday and Friday on all the lifestyle shows in the state. So what we're talking about here is Studio 5, Good Things Utah, Fresh Living, and The Place. So consider this your personal invitation to tune in to whichever show, meets your fancy. You've heard me say it before, and I'm going to say it again. Everyone has a story, but objects with stories, now those are treasures remembered. Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to this episode of Treasures Remembered. With me, Dr. Micah Christensen with Anthony's Fine Art and Antiques. So, Micah, it's great to have you in the studio.
I am really happy to be back. It's good to be with you, Doug.
Now, you've got some really cool stuff. I always look forward to what you got.
Bierstadt was a German-American painter who is probably most famous for his paintings of Yellowstone and Yosemite.
Okay.
He made the American West come alive for an entire generation of Americans. And it's largely due to him and his ability to create these romantic, beautiful images of these dramatic landscapes that are in the American West, that these parts of the West became national parks.
Now, you have two paintings here.
I do.
So tell me about this one over here on your
Now,
shoulder.
this is an unusual Bierstadt. Before I tell you about this, well, I will tell you about it really quickly. This is a painting of the Tetons, the Grand Tetons, with a lot of yellow in it. And I don't know if you can really tell what's going on here. This would have been a quick plein air sketch. Plein air is a French term meaning an open air. And he was trained as a plein air artist. It's kind of an Olympic sport. Most artists would paint in their studios over weeks or months. Plein air artists would do very quick sketches in nature. And then maybe they would work them up later. Bierstadt did this piece in open air, and all of that yellow is from a forest fire.
Oh, wow.
So he's captured a fire in the Teton Valley.
And with the reflection on the water. Beautiful.
Yeah. Isn't that absolutely beautiful? So this was done on a cigar box container.
Wow.
Yeah, which is fairly common for artists. You'd go to an artist supply store, and they would have discarded tops for cigar boxes.
Yeah.
And there would be a cheap, easy thing for you to do quick sketches on. It was the equivalent of extra paper
Okay.
you had hanging around. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Bierstadt.
Okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah, please.
So Bierstadt was born in what is today near Dusseldorf.
Okay.
And you got to think of Germany at the time as being a conglomeration of a lot of different countries.
This is Prussia.
And his family moved to the United States when he was only a year old, and they went to Massachusetts of all places, which there weren't a lot of Germans in Massachusetts. They were mostly in Philadelphia. The reason why they went there are a lot of reasons, but one is that his family were famous in Europe for being stereo view photographers. So he came from a group of people that were used to going out hiking in the wild and photographing. And Massachusetts had a big market for that. So he, as a young man, is working with his brothers and his father in photography. And then he goes back to Dusseldorf and then Munich to study as an older man. Oh, young man. And you have to think that in the United States, this is the 1850s. There aren't a lot of native schools in the United States. The best school to go to for a German American would be in Munich. And the person who's leading that school, who's teaching, is Emanuel Leutze, who painted Washington crossing the Delaware.
That little one.
That little one. Maybe the most famous painter of the 19th century.
I remember you actually had one of that guy's paintings.
I did.
I don't know how you got that one.
I did have a Leutze. So he studies, Bierstadt studies with Leutze. And he graduates, I believe, in 1859, 1860. He decides to come back to the United States. And it's a terrible time. It's the Civil War.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do back east where his family is when it comes to patronize. The patrons are all tied up in the war effort, right? So what does he do? He goes out west. And this, in 1881, is one of his many, many journeys that he made out west. This painting here on the other side, this is the Wasatch Mountains in Salt Lake. So we're right now trying to figure out which one of the peaks it actually is. But it appears that this is the mountains right behind Mount Olympus, which is the most prominent peak in the Salt Lake.
So if there's anybody out there watching, if this is your backyard, let Mike a note. Just say.
Bierstadt was famous for this.
Yeah, okay.
You have to imagine that as an artist, what you're doing is not selling your work and efforts first as an artist when you're in. If you're a mountaineer worth your salt, which he was, you're mostly selling your services as a surveyor and geologist.
I always love having you come on because everyone has a story, and stories have power and they help us understand each other. But objects with stories are treasures remembered. We'll be right back. If you want to see more Treasures Remembered, just go to treasuresremembered.com. Original, right? But here's a little hint. Coming to a TV near you sometime soon, a full 30-minute show of Treasures Remembered. What do you care about? It's time for the caring stories. He likes to be called Bob. So, hey Bob, how you doing?
I'm great.
So thanks for coming on Jessop's Journal. So you're wearing the green. Obviously you're a doctor. Inquiring minds want to know, what kind of doctor?
I am, it's a bit of a mouthful, but I am an interventional pediatric cardiologist.
Do you remember like one of those first patients where it's like, okay, we got this kid. This kid has some serious problems. It's all on, it's all on your hands. It's all on you. You're going in. What's going through your mind?
Well, I remember an early case in my fellowship where, we have our hairy cases, we have our kind of routine cases, but it kind of hit me full circle when I was scrubbing in one day and we had a little 4-year-old girl who had a hole in her heart. We were going to go in there and close it with a device, and it's pretty routine. But seeing her kind of laying on the table as they're putting her to sleep, instead of being all covered up and we're just going in to do this procedure, it kind of struck me that this is a big deal. And we're taking someone's child and taking responsibility for them. And at times this is a rough business, but thankfully, most of the time everything goes like it's supposed to. And when it does, it's incredible. I mean, it really is an opportunity, or I feel fortunate to have the opportunity to be able to kind of do what I love and help people and have it go like it's supposed to most of the time.
Now, you brought some show and tell items. Walk me through the process of what this thing does.
The main thing that I want to showcase today is the Harmony valve. It's from a company called Medtronic. It's a transcatheter pulmonary valve. We're able to replace someone's pulmonary valve through the vein in the leg without opening up the chest, without going on the heart-lung bypass machine and emptying the heart out of blood and then going in there and surgically implanting this valve. So we can actually do it through the vein in the leg while the heart's beating and while the patient is asleep on the table under general anesthesia. A lot of the patients that we deal with have had multiple open heart surgeries already, and they're facing a lifetime of repeated open heart surgeries, because if you need an artificial valve, in general, most of these valves will go bad after about 7 years. So the body reacts to the tissue and beats up these valves faster than they would if you didn't have congenital heart disease. So this allows us to break the cycle of open heart surgery after open heart surgery after open heart surgery and be able to do it less invasively. And most of the time, we're fortunate that it goes like it's supposed to. And then we can get patients into the hospital, we can replace their heart valve, and they're walking out on their own the next morning with a couple Band-Aids.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
It's nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
So the last question I like to ask everybody. When I've been to the doctor, okay, and they're doing the surgery, they get out the pen and say, okay, I want to make sure we're doing it on the right, foot or leg or whatever, so you make some marks, okay? How do you want to, and it might not be on the surgery thing, okay, but how do you want to leave your mark?
I want to spend my life helping people, and whether it's helping my daughters grow up and be solid citizens or help my patients grow up and lead as normal life as possible, I just like to be known as a humble guy who did his best to add something to the world.
Well, on behalf of all the patients that you've served at Primary Children's Hospital, thank you for what you do, and thanks for coming on today.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hygiene is the process of cleaning. You wash your hands and you wash your clothes. But did you know there was a Dr. Semmelweis back in 1848 that wrote a paper that maybe doctors should wash their hands between patients?
150 years later, when hearing that it was accepted and became standard of care here in the U.S.
A double-blind peer-reviewed study has just been published in the Journal of Clinical Virology. The study was done at the height of the Delta variant and included 500 high-risk frontline medical workers that were exposed much more than the general public. What's the bottom line? Nasal sprays containing saline and xylitol reduce the COVID transmission by 62% over the placebo.
Clear's not a drug, it's a hygiene tool. It doesn't kill, it doesn't, it washes away.
With another entry into Jessop's Journeys, People, Places, and Things You Might Not Know About, I'm Doug Jessop. I've got a question for you. The person right there on the couch, drinking your coffee. What are you thankful for right here, right now?
I am thankful for the opportunity to serve children in a way I've never done before.
The ability that I have to be with these kids, these patients that are here, and to support them in whatever way that I am able to.
I'm thankful that I have 3 lovely daughters that are healthy and happy, and an understanding wife who allows me the freedom to do this job.
Everyone has a story. Sometimes the stories are told through music. It's time for Jessop's Jukebox.
Cantinho, violão, esse amor uma canção pra fazer feliz a quem se ama. Muito muita calma pra pensar e ter tempo pra sonhar. Da janela vê-se o corcovado e o Redentor, que lindo. Quero a vida sempre assim, com você perto de mim, até o apagar da velha chama. E eu que era triste, descrente desse mundo, ao encontrar você eu conheci o que é felicidade, meu amor. Que era triste, descrente desse mundo, ao encontrar você eu conheci o que é felicidade, meu amor. O que é felicidade, meu amor. Quiet nights of quiet stars, quiet chords from my guitar. Quiet nights of quiet stars, quiet chords from my guitar.
What makes you smile? Spry Natural Xylitol mints make me smile. I think it might help you too. Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal, where we shared powerful, positive, and inspirational stories and music. I hope that you were able to feel something today, be it laughing, crying, smiling, whatever it is, because you know what? Life is never boring. Here's the thing I want everyone to remember. You know what I'm going to say, so come on, you can say it with me. Everyone has a story. Yes, Zach behind the camera has a story. I'm just saying. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another entry into Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.
Quiet nights of quiet stars, quiet chords from my guitar. Quiet nights of quiet stars, quiet chords from my guitar.